It's mailbag time. We're going to discuss second half changes, record predictions, and what we would have done differently in the first half. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warne, and you can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE. I've watched the Twins for more than 30 years and covered them for about half of that. You can find most of my work at my newsletter, Access Twins. Joining me today, Mr. Tom Schreier covers the Twins in person, the not sole proprietor, but I guess owner and operator of Zone Coverage. Tom, what's going on?
I just had to shut my door for the video people because my fan I think would have been distracting in the back there. But no, big time for us because we got Twins news. Obviously, trying to see what direction this team's going in, and then weirdly Vikings camp is like right around the corner. Summer league for the Wolves. Hockey's the only sport that like takes some time off, but yeah, kind of a fun time for some.
Get out on the golf course in the boat if you play hockey. But
yeah,
in case I didn't say it, Tom covers the Twins in person every now and then, right? You're not going to be there tonight if you're here with me right now. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So it's mostly for me, day games, some weekends. We got Theo Tolleson, Lou Hennessy, two good young writers doing a lot of work for us. Yeah.
Well, so, by the way, thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And, of course, it's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day. Love to hear from you if you're an everydayer, so feel free to be active in the comments wherever you find them, YouTube or otherwise, and I'll try hang out there. Well, we love if you like and subscribe. Today's episode will be a mailbag edition. We're going to go over, we're going to hit it with a little newsiness first, but then we're going to talk about maybe changes we'd like to see, what we would have done differently in the first half, and even maybe a win prediction revision. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Tom, first question, and it's very newsy. Brandon W. Wow, that's curious.
Oh, no.
What was your favorite Joey Wentz moment? Joey Wentz, prodigal son, claimed by the Atlanta Braves off waivers from the Twins. And so he's going back to where it all began. He was a first-round pick, 40th overall, like 10 years ago. Like, he was traded so long ago to the Tigers. It was for, like, Shane Green with Travis Demerit.
I'm looking this up. So 2016 draft, this would have been the Kirilloff, right? Draft
16 was system failure, and then Royce was 17 because he was born in 99. So yes, You got that right.
Yeah. So and actually, I'm trying to think, but that would have been like Terry Ryan's last. Miranda was the other one. Terry Ryan's last draft there.
Yeah, literally fired like what, a month later.
Yeah. Shane Green, Travis Demerit. That's good. That's really good memory there.
No, I looked it up earlier today.
Okay.
But Wentz getting claimed despite the crazy numbers he had in Minnesota. Lefties who throw 95, 96, I saw him touch. Those guys are going to get opportunities forever. And so I don't know if he'll go straight to the Braves bullpen. I would suspect so because I think the Twins only DFA'd him because he didn't have options. That would make the most sense since they already had a 40-man spot open from the Jonah Bride DFA. So he'll join the Braves. I know they were having a lot of turmoil out in their pitching staff. They had a young kid that got just smoked by the A's that they think might have been tipping pitches. Yeah. And I think Jesse Chavez might get DFA'd for like the 19th time by the Braves. So anyway, Wentz out. I would say I don't have a lot of great memories except maybe that one time he hit 96 on the gun.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, though. Like 27 years old, some velo, you're going to get opportunity. I mean, also, I was looking, there are moments. I mean, I suppose it was that first year. Came up in 2022 with Detroit, hit a 3 ERA and 7 starts. I mean, again, it's hard to judge, that. But there have been probably like, here's the thing. Like, there have been moments. Also, the Twins tend to have guys. Like, I was looking, John Curtis or whatever is up with Arizona. And, sometimes if you, like, flip on a random game, you'll be like, You're like, whoa, that guy was like on the Twins 5 years ago.
And Nick Anderson did that for a while, and
yeah,
Calvin Fauché, who's been closing for the Marlins with Ronnie Enriquez, was part of the Nelson Cruz trade. So I mean, there's
McGill. I was trying to think like had success or has success.
The Twins. Oh, he's an all-star. Yeah, the Twins have, to lack a better way to put it, they have bodies everywhere.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, again, I think it's. I mean, even Pagan, right? Has been pitching all right. Like they, I think sometimes I think they identify the right guy in the wrong moment. I think it's a little bit of it, and I think it's also like, hey, like you're at a point they're cycling through the waiver wire, right? And so for every Cody Clemens, you have like a Jonah Bride or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of what they draw when you're trying to scout, and I'm sure they have priors on those guys and stuff like that. So we may see more of it. I think this is going to be a really, really weird season, and they've really had to tap into kind of the waiver wire and scramble to bring talent in, I guess, major league talent in. So we may see more guys like this.
Well, and they just happened to grab Clemens at the right time, and so it cuts both ways. All right, second question we have before we head into break. What's one change you want to see in the second half? Mark wants to know. I personally do not need to see any more Ty France. The defense has been fine. Like it's been good, but at this point, I need more offense. And if you think he's going to rebound, I'm not here to argue. It's certainly possible, but I would like to see one of three people get the bulk of starts in the second half at first base. Edouard Julien is the first one.
Mm-hmm. Get him on the major league roster, right?
Well, he's been hitting and he's been playing a little bit of first base. Luke Keeschel is the second one. I don't know the amount of experience or the totality of the experience he has at first base. And I said this in a previous episode. It might not be fair to bring him back and force feed him a position in the major league. So maybe that puts him back burner, probably more along the lines of DHing when he comes up. And so I said Julien, who, I mean, coming up and playing first base, I don't know if that's undue stress on him. He's already been in the big leagues plenty. Or Aaron Sabato, who, I mean, Theo's probably seen plenty of at CHS Field, and he's just crushing the baseball. At this point, again, bringing him up to the major leagues and throwing a lot at him. He's also in his mid-20s. This is not like you're going to ruin this kid. He's kind of like their new Brent Rooker, a guy who mashed in college and just needs an opportunity. I think in a second half where you're going into the break at the very best 500, wherever you're going, you can get there with one of those three guys and not Ty France. And I think it would be better for the development of the team. Like this isn't Rob Dillingham over Mike Conley, crunch time or down the stretch of the season. But I still think you're in a position where wherever you go, you don't need Ty France to get you there. And so I am ready for the second half to see the end of the Ty France show.
Is that for you, no matter what, if they're buyers, sellers?
And again, I know he might go elsewhere and have a nice little one-off, run-off kind of thing. He was an all-star just a couple years ago. It's not like it's not in there, but I don't see it as a guy where there's no reason to ride that down as far as it might go. Just for a few clutch hits. Yeah,
it's a weird thing. He you'd want him up with guys in scoring position, right? Or whatever guys on the base.
At least theoretically, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he just seems like he's not breaking through what you'd expect from a first baseman, like breaking through in situations where you just kind of need a hit, right? Like start a rally. Right. I mean, I think it was in Seattle. He got a standing ovation. I think that's where he was.
He's popular wherever he goes. But
so yeah. I mean, I just think I almost thought of it two ways because we're in this it's like the Schrodinger cat. You know what I mean? Like you kind of don't know what's the second half if you open the box and you have a late rally, or you end up kind of just selling everything you kind of can. But and answer that question we had before of like how much you actually sell, but. I was thinking positively, it's like, man, what if Ober comes back right? You know what I mean? What if this was just a hip thing? And and like the reason why I think of Ober, I think about that 23 season a lot because I understand the parallels to 22 and 24, and people tend to think negatively and fair enough. But like Ober to me, I think I called him like the ace in the hole. Like Joe Ryan was weirdly again the all-star that wasn't like now he's got in obviously,
and
but
now
like
he is.
yeah, but he you know he looked like an all-star and then fell off in the second half. That being Joe Ryan, I felt like Ober wouldn't get like no one's gonna call him an ace, no one's gonna call him an all-star. He just kind of set a foundation, right? Like he was just reliable and
Yep.
Proof of concept for this. Now I asked. It was Sean Johnson. Like, do you actually think through, because the drafts always come up. I'm like, do you think through like, hey, we don't want high school pitchers because like, I mean, I know they took Jace Petty back in the day, but like these guys may not actually like throw out that velo by the time they reach the majors. They may have injuries. Like a college guy would just be that much closer and hopefully like just tunes up and reaches the majors. Do you think through like SEC school versus small school? But one concept we've seen and one constant is that we've seen these kind of smaller school guys. I'm thinking Festa, I think with Seton Hall, Ober, College of Charleston, and I'm trying. There's one more guy that they've like. I mean, Varlin from Concordia. Like they've taken these guys that are not from SEC programs or not from like big Sun Belt programs and added pitches. I mean, even Travis Adams, and actually, I think Johnson brought him up as an example. Listen, like Adams is still a project, right? But he's reached the majors because he had 2 pitches. And then he now has 5, right? And like that, they do scout this. They're like, how willing is this guy to learn? Like, is he going to get upset? I mean, think of like
that's makeup.
Yeah, it's makeup, and even like I think of like a veteran like Paddock, and Paddock's been hit around a little bit here, but like he's adding pitches like on the fly. You know what I mean? Like
Splitty for Simeon Woods Richardson. If nobody wrote about that, that'd be a good article.
Well, that's so. I mean, Simeon's Woods Richardson's adding that. You have kind of going to the splitter for Joe Ryan. That was, I think, a year or 2 ago. But
yeah, he was all fastball and just kind of has added as he's gone.
Yeah, and I think the sweeper too, which obviously has become a thing. I mean, even Lopez has like this arsenal of pitches. So I think they do like at like willingness to learn, projectability. Hey, how will this guy grow and stuff like that? But ultimately, you know, I don't know how much like the small school thing, like I don't know how much they're thinking that through, but that kind of showed us. So to me, like the positive side would be like, hey, can you just get Ober back, setting that foundation? Another reliable guy. Hopefully is a weird word, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's just an injury. Yeah. If it's falling apart, it's more, can you just open the portal, right? I mean, at that point, like you have to treat yourself almost like in a rebuilding year. I don't think that was ever the intent. And even up until like a couple of weeks ago, Falvey's saying we're not selling. Like
you have to adapt too, though. Like,
and it's just, there's guys. This is no longer, I mean, dude, I always go back to this because it's the first year I covered, but it's no longer 2011 where we're like, I think it was like Benson and Parmalee, you know what I mean? Are those guys going to be like foundational play? This is Keishel's proven something. Now it's in a small sample size.
Julian, I mean, all these guys have something.
Miranda had what, like, you know, that hitting streak or whatever. So like, it's more opening the portal. Now, I don't think you bring Miranda up if his numbers aren't there in AAA, but it's more, we were talking about Julian, like, how does he fit within a roster construction? You almost like throw that out the window if you're not winning. I mean, at that point, it's really just like do what's best for the future of the team. Right. Also, if you're a guy like Ty France, you're like, hey, just get me on a roster where I can prove something, because hopefully he goes from all-star to $1 million player to, you know what I mean, like a substantial contract of some sort. So
just not here.
Yeah. And I think that's, I mean, you know, you're also probably, we talked about like just listening to best offers on Jack Steranza. I'm not a rip it down guy. We were talking about that
probably
before. Like
Castro, Coulomb, someone like that would be more likely to move than anybody else.
Get what you can. I mean, Castro's such a funny player that he was like a post-type prospect. Like, you know what I mean? You kind of look back and go, like, there was some belief at some point here he'd be a star, and he's valuable to anyone. Coulomb's valuable to anyone.
Nunez again.
Yes. Yeah, and I'd miss him from like I love Willie Castro standpoint. But yeah, so I mean, I think if you're going that route, I think it becomes less like what is the whole of the roster and more is like, you know, hey, at some point you kind of need to know what you have in these guys, what guys are part of the future. This is both just how you'd operate no matter what. Mm-hmm. It's also I think if you're an owner coming in, you kind of want to see it, right? Like, hey, can I just come in stride? Like I think of, it's not an ownership change, but like the Vikings go through this whole regime change. I know it was funny that it's like they just took the Zimmer guys and won like 13 games with them, and obviously had that devastating playoff loss. But like I think you were like, it gave him credibility, right? I mean, it gave him credibility right away. We can come in and win. O'Connell can coach in clutch moments. Yep. You know, Keirsey will change a few of his draft philosophies, but it's like he made the right call and like holding that together. And I think that's also just kind of think of it a little with Falvey, proof of concept would be more like 2019. Now we knew it was a juice ball and like maybe you just caught the right moment of having a power hitting team while the ball was leaving the park at this crazy rate. But like, that builds credibility right now. And unfortunately, they just didn't capitalize on it. But I thought 2023 also did that. And, that's why I keep going back to that year, 45 and 46. You lose to Baltimore 15-2. Like, it just seems like literally Baldelli's right on the thing. Like, let the season begin. Like, he's basically given the guys a reset after the All-Star break. And that team, if you would have like, think about it before that. If you'd been like, well, it was an 87 win team that really wasn't that great in the first half. That broke the curse, if you will, or the the streak or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, either in the second half you're either reloading and kind of hoping that like the Twins have a new ownership situation and things just feel different next year. And you're adding to a foundation rather than completely redoing the whole thing,
or standing at the very least.
Yeah, and if you're winning, you're like, hey, this janky team just has to be right at the right time. You know what I mean? I think I was talking to my friend who was a Cubs fan, and he was like, yeah, so what's going on here? Like, the Cubs are really good, and like the stadium is full of Cubs fans. And I was like, man, it's just the Twins.
With three besides. Hey, you were talking about pitchers at small schools. As we had to break, I want to spring one on you. Do you remember where Jacob deGrom went? If you don't, how about do this? Hold it during the break.
Yeah.
And absolutely do not cheat. I'll be watching while I'm reading this spot. But
sounds good.
We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Well, if you're not Tom Schreier, and so you don't have a press pass like one of those fancy people, but if you've decided at the last minute you want to go to a game with your friends, your family, whoever, it's game day and you're downtown kicking around and you realize there's a ball game coming up and you want to be in the stands, that's where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. Tom, I was at the Metallica concert back last fall and I was sitting there on Game Time looking up how much tickets were like around me, because the closer you get to events, those prices fluctuate a lot. There's demand, there's lack of demand and all that stuff. And in the pit, it was like $12,000 to get down there. Like 100 feet from where I was in my very normal seats, people were going into the pits for crazy amounts of money. And I sat there and just watched the fluctuations as it gets closer to showtime, as it gets closer to game time. Those things will change. There's some dynamic pricing and all that sort of fun stuff. But with the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, even merchandise, or more people. Bring more people along. More is the merrier. Game Time makes it possible. It's the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB and makes it easy for you to browse the app for exciting upcoming MLB games like, Joe Ryan versus Paul Skeens. That one might be one you want to check out. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms will apply. But again, use that code LOCKEDONMLB and you'll get $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Tom Schreier, where did Jacob deGrom go to college?
So is it like Long Island or Staten Island or something?
Yeah, you got onto the right idea based on how it sounds.
So is an East Coast? Is it a New York?
I don't know where it is. The name is the Hatters. The blank
Hatters.
Stetson. It went to the Stetson. I think it's the Hatters. Maybe I'm just delirious, but
Stetson, Staten and Stetson is like pretty close.
That's what I mean for sound. I don't know where Stetson is. I beats the living daylights out of me. But
I'm gonna look this up while you're
another small school wonder. And they had a stretch too. The Twins did when they were drafting guys like Mason Melitakis and all these college guys that were not lighting up the radar gun. That's for sure. But different era, different times. Terry Ryan on the broadcast over the weekend. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I caught a little bit of the broadcast. I'll be honest.
It was exceptional. It was almost like when Tom Kelly would be calling Dick Bramer Richard and like the the sheer absurdity of it. They had Terry read scouting reports of the players he was in there with. Yeah. So like talking about how Trevor Plouffe wasn't athletic enough or different things about Morneau, doesn't catch well enough. He's not going to be a catcher. They're like, it was pros and cons. He didn't just tear him down. And obviously he didn't just prop them up. It was very Terry Ryan, straight shooter. He's going to tell you exactly. And then Trevor told this story. He goes, I was up for, it was something and he missed a meeting with Terry and he felt horrible. And Terry's like, you broke my heart that day. And so anyway, he's like, I circled back. I apologized. And I said, well, I got you. What do you want me to work on? And Trevor's hoping it'll be just something simple. And he lists off like 16 things in a row. And it's like, not huge things. It's like, yeah, we really got to work on your lateral movement and your this and that. And Trevor was just like, he just kind of shook his head. And I think that's when Justin brought up, don't ask a question you don't want the actual answer to, is like his family's mantra. It sounded like Terry unintentionally roasted Trevor that day after he missed. It was, I don't know if it was like a symposium or something. I can't remember exactly what it was.
So real quick, I'm going to go to Stetson College, then Terry Ryan. Stetson College is in DeLand, Florida. It's outside Orlando. I think the Twins have a player from there, and I just can't. I was trying to look it up really, really quick. I thought it was like Austin Martin or something, but there's obviously a lot of Florida players, a lot of Sunbelt players. Terry Ryan, I saw sitting with a group of scouts. So I'd gone down for pregame yesterday. Went back up to the press box, and for people who don't know, Terry Ryan, like one of the most approachable, like,
yes. By the way, to interrupt because I can do that.
Yeah.
These are the natives of DeLand, Florida. Yeah. Starting with the most notable, Horace Allen. I'm kidding. He's the least notable. He was born in 1899. Jacob deGrom, some guy named Paul Dickin, which would have been on that episode where we were trying to make each other laugh of Midwest Swing.
Right.
Chipper Jones.
Really? Okay.
Luke Scott, Luke Weaver, another little bit of a Luke tag team there. And then Austin Martin.
I was right. Austin Martin, I believe, went to high school in Jacksonville. That's maybe what threw me off. But yeah, so Austin Martin.
Anyway, back to Terry.
I walked up and I have a Marvin the Martian sticker on my computer that my sister gave me because I was a huge Marvin the Martian fan, like Looney Tunes.
Are you the only one that ever has admitted to that?
Hey, I'm man enough to do it. But so I keep in mind, this is like an old cartoon. I mean, I'm trying to think of when like Looney Tunes started, but like
in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah. So I go up and again, Terry, like, how you doing? Like, again, one of the greatest dudes ever. And we're talking a little bit and he's like, what is this? I was like, it's Marvin the Martian. You don't know who that is? And he goes, no. And the two other scouts are like, man, what are you talking about? Like, again, it's not Bugs Bunny. It's not Elmer Fudd maybe, but like, he's a pretty notable cartoon character. And
it's like Yosemite Sam.
What now?
It's like Yosemite Sam. You should know who they are.
Yeah, the Roadrunner Coyote. But he goes, I have blinders on. And I think, listen, I do think baseball, and I actually think, I used the football analogy before, but think of like the Vikings going from Spielman, the super scout, to Keirsey. Like, he's like a manager, right? This is a guy like Wall Street, kind of can speak business, right? Mm-hmm. I do think like baseball maybe has followed that trend too. Like, Terry's the super scout, right? He can find these guys like deep in the drafts. Listen, the Twins have under Falvey too. And this, assuming they continue to do this, this is sustainable. Like, Zebby Matthews, another guy, like small school. And
where was he?
He's something Carolina. It's wherever he grew up. Western Carolina, maybe.
I was thinking VCU for some reason. No, we have it. I think West Carolina is the Catamounts.
Yeah. So he grew up in the like Cooley or whatever it is. It's in the city he grew up in. But either way, it does feel like Falvey more like, I actually see him actually as the bridge between the ownership, which probably thinks, and this is any owner, dollar and cents, like, how do we run a sustainable model in this market? And especially in baseball, you can continue to win. You think of like the Cardinals being that example of like a smaller market team that's been good for so long, and like translating that to like a super scout, right? Who like understands how to draft players all around the country, kind of different timelines, right? If we get a guy in the 5th round, it's probably different than someone even in the 1st or whatever. And so like, and then let alone like, what are the odds that you're like 20th round pick, or let's say 15th, if it's Varland, like what are the odds that guy comes up and makes an impact, right? And so Terry Ryan, like, I think he's got a lot if he's not familiar with the Looney Tunes, but it was like, we talked about that all player broadcast. It usually, I mean, you want a Corey Provis there, like who's kind of guiding and moving the conversation along. But Plouffe is a good example. I think we said it last time, of a guy who didn't seem to have a position, seemed like a quad A player. And they were showing examples of this on the screen. He had moments where he just looked like a megastar, right? And becomes, although obviously he didn't turn into a megastar, like someone who's become part of like the Twins lore. And I think I'd like Caleb Thielbar, obviously still pitching, but like the fact that he was with the Saints, Twins, absent from Major League Baseball for a while, back to the Twins, right? And like these guys all take Glenn Perkins, starter to reliever, even Justin Morneau. Like if you look at it early on, I mean, some of those guys who covered him early thought he didn't speak English, which he is from Canada, where they speak English, I guess maybe outside of the very Canadian or the very French Canadian provinces, but like, really quiet, and then actually like got in trouble early, right? It was partying too hard, wasn't too focused on baseball, and becomes this star. So I think like, yeah, just I do like that they've incorporated these guys, and there just feels like these Twins lifers, especially as you're moving on from Dick, who is with broadcasting Twins games for so long. Like you're giving people something familiar. Obviously people know Provis and Atterbury from the radio and stuff, but like I've liked what they did. Also, I think we just learned that like Lopez probably can do this. I'm convinced he's probably one of those dudes who could do anything. He would have been like a med student if he wasn't a pitcher. Just brilliant, like
brilliant, and have a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. I have no time for you if that's the case.
Also like got in shape. Like if you look at the old pictures of him, you don't even like recognize him. Like
dirty boy.
But I think like I'm not shocked. I've talked to him. There's a method to everything he does. He's pretty descriptive in terms of like what he does, in terms of becoming a star pitcher. But like there is some discovery there, I guess, that again, like a guy like Morneau, I always believe knew the information you needed to translate to TV, right? But like, could he broadcast? You know what I mean? Like literally project his voice and like deliver on that. Plouffe, central casting. I've always said like, no matter what, if Terry Ryan thought he wasn't athletic enough or whatever, he didn't have a position, like that dude looks like someone who play a baseball player.
Face, like how are we even the same species as that guy?
And no doubt took to broadcasting right away. I actually think of like Glenn Perkins more as I remember him complaining that he's like the broadcast is using these counting stats. That's fine, but like especially with a reliever that does not really represent them. Like you think of this
is Nate Bargatze if he was a baseball player.
That's very funny. That's I saw Nate Bargatze at spring training. This was a year ago or whatever, not this year, but last year. But yes, I mean, I think Perkins, beyond being the local guy, like is doing due justice. Let's say Griffin Jacks, who's having this weird year, right? And it's almost like the underlying stats would matter more. I also like some of these guys, Joe Ryan, in making a case for himself as an all-star, used underlying metrics, right? He goes, yeah, it's fine. Like we're going to talk about ERA and stuff. And there's some even basic stuff, strikeouts and innings pitched. But if you kind of looked at some of these underlying metrics, like he is up there. He's worthy, right? I mean, he's not one of the best pitchers. He's should be in that all-star conversation. I'm glad they moved the start to Friday, allowing him to jump in as a replacement. I also just think this is not a one-off to me. He's built an all-star resume over a few years, finally culminates in getting it.
All this from Jacob deGrom went to Stetson. How do you love that? Well,
hey, we have a lot of who else brought up that Stetson's from DeLand, Florida?
Yeah, that's how it goes, man. Well, that's the kind of thing you get here when Tom Schreier is standing in for Mr. Dave Brown. We got one more spot to read here when we come back. Want to ask about maybe what we would change from before the break, and then probably quickly, maybe not. We'll see. Your updated win prediction for the 2025 Twins. But if you're like Tom Schreier running a business, I don't know if he's got a spare phone line or a burner phone, but you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Tom, if you need to cover a press conference, you need to get out there, you know that you got to have the big story. Well, when it comes to things like maybe you have a service emergency and you need a plumber to come fix a burst pipe. Or like I always say, we had a dishwasher that we needed fixed. Who do you call in? And if that first person doesn't answer, Tom, do you call them again or do you move on to the next one? You tell me.
That's tough. I think you got to move on to the next one.
And that is why having a reliable business line is so important and why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system, and it helps you streamline and scale customer communication all from an app on your phone or your computer. So if you're juggling 2 phones for business and personal calls to keep them separate, always separate business and pleasure, right, baby? No, Open Phone, though, solved that instantly for many, many people who have already gotten started. And your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this, opportunities to pass the buck. And if you need to disconnect, there's an AI agent who will handle after-hours calls, answer common questions, and capture leads so you never, ever miss a customer again. Open Phone is offering Locked On Twins listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Right, Tom, we've got to finally get to this third and this fourth question. Our friend Paul wants to know, is there anything about the first half that you'd have done differently if you were in charge? Now, there were a lot of hot and or bad takes about things that could have been done in the first half. Remember, Paddock started poorly, and everyone wanted him cut and traded or whatever, and he's been quite important to this pitching staff, good, bad, or otherwise. You know what I think I would have changed? You know, you could say move Carlos Correa down in the order, but there was really not enough guys hitting. I think I would have addressed the Bailey Ober situation earlier than the Twins did. I think that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good one. I was going to cheat and be like, talk to the ownership and be like, can we have a few more depth players so that we're not like using the waiver wire as much as we did. Man, Ober's good. To be honest with you, I thought they should move Paddock to the bullpen and bring up Matthews. And like, again, we don't really know.
Paddock in the bullpen. We've seen that. We've seen that movie. Yeah. It's a pretty good movie.
Having said that, like Matthews got hurt and we kind of don't know where he's at right now.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the number one thing that will stick with me is like, you wasted good pitching early. You're wasting Buxton right now. You know what I mean? And I think like, part of me wonders if you just did a little more in the off season, right? You know what I mean? Like, could you have mitigated that a little bit? I'm not suggesting it would have been like a drastic change, but probably would have helped a little bit.
Not exactly the same vein, but maybe similarly connected. Would you have used the DaShawn Keirsey roster spot differently the last few weeks?
So obviously you'd love it. Like he has an obvious role, right? Defensive replacement.
But how necessary is that when you've already got Harrison Bader who can handle center?
Yeah.
Castro has played center. I don't think he's played center at all this year, but that might be just Buxton's healthy. Bader's a good backup. Yeah. With that said, Edouard Julien's been hitting, and Carson McCusker might deserve a longer look. And now Austin Martin seems to be back. You know, Austin Martin.
So I think Martin would have taken that spot though, right? I mean, almost definitely.
What I mean, he should have sooner. Like he's been back. He's rehabbed. He's healthy now for a few weeks, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a temptation to have Julian take that, right? Like just have that hitter because that is something they're missing. Like I think Rocco would like to play matchups more, right? You know what I mean? The pitch.
If you have Christian Vasquez up against a righty in the 8th inning, and you've got Jeffers behind him.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to hit Jeffers when he's on an 0 for 21 like he was, or 0 for 18.
Yeah.
Now, 8 for his last 16. If you don't want to use Jeffers in that spot necessarily, or let's say you've got Jeffers up and you pinch run and then you juggle some things, that's where a guy who can get you a base knock or take a walk has some value, if you need to get Vasquez out of the game or whoever else.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately it's just like, if you look at some of these, whether you're concerned with like how much they use the waiver wire or just like you want a France upgrade, well, if you have a little more budget, you can get, you know what I mean? A little more there. Like if you have a little more budget, you could have a little more like veteran presence in the rotation. So I'm not saying like
Jose Iglesias, you could have signed a lot of different guys that would be filling that last roster spot right now that would maybe be giving you different or better value.
Because it's just empty. I mean, the other thing is it's just empty. I mean, Travis Adams is intriguing to me, like in the abstract, but you are literally like piggybacking, and you know what I mean? And they're trying to push, like, you're going to like use openers to push these young guys through. I mean, maybe that's good for their development. They just should be in the majors facing guys, but you just, I mean, I'm trying to think of like the actual move. I just think the root of the problem is like, it's not, I understand like at the extreme, people are like, well, you just go sign like, you know, Juan Soto or something. You know, I don't think that's happening, but I think it's, what I really liked about that 23 offseason is they overdid it. It sucked for Ober. It like Donovan Solano didn't make sense until it really made sense, right? And like,
I mean, he was playing first base when they got the last out. That's, I don't think people will necessarily remember that.
And so my point is like a lot of this stems to like, it's really just supporting kind of ongoing growth and just having like in what I call insulation, like these guys who just like can step up into it. So a lot of my problems with it is not like Keirsey specifically. It's that like you're in that spot using him because it didn't even have depth issues. Like Austin Martin got injured in AAA, right? It wasn't like Harrison Bader or Buxton got hurt. It was like you lost like the third guy and all of a sudden you're like forcing a guy into that spot. Like you really never should do that. But I don't know. Part of me goes, I still believe in Austin Martin. Like he was, I know it's a weird draft and like whatever, but like
he makes a ton of contact. He can move a little bit. I still think there's something there. It may not be anything more than, you know, a super utility guy who can't play short, but on a 26-man roster, those guys have value.
Yeah. And if you could take better routes in the outfield, like you could use them. I always go like they need a Michael A. Taylor every year. You know what I mean? Like that guy who can like just, I mean, I guess that's Bader, right?
Yeah.
But
Bader's basically him juiced up a little bit.
And you just like to be someone with player control. Cause the issue is like with Taylor, like he's just gone the next season. And
Bader also, unless I think Bader's got a player option that he's not going to exercise with a buyout that should, you know, he signed for less than he got last year by quite a bit, but the buyout on the option closes that gap a little bit. So, I mean, yeah. And he's played, I think last I saw, he was on pace to play like 140 games, which, you know, for a fourth outfielder, that's a lot of games. Yeah. Yeah. So I just, I know it's a boring answer, just going back to like, hey, kind of just basic roster management stuff in terms of stuff, decisions you make either before spring training or sometimes they do it during. But yeah, it really was just equipping yourself a little bit better in the season. And I think like outside of that, I'm hoping some of these growing pains. So with Ober specifically, like he gets healthy, he gets right. Growing or growing? Because he what was it? It was a groin, wasn't it?
It was oblique, wasn't it? I think it was an oblique.
Oh, maybe it was
but I think, but more to the point, like, you know, hopefully Festa and Woods Richardson, Matthews when he's healthy, like hopefully getting this experience early, you know what I mean? Because there's just no way to replicate the majors. Like there's such a gap between AAA and the majors. I'm hoping like this pays off because if you talk to Festa, he's like, hey, it's not just random. He's working on that sinker, knowing when to use it, trying to use that to vault him to the next level. Woods Richardson, I think it tends to be more mechanical. I think he reaches too high, or at least that was the case in the past. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if he's a little more, you know, 3/4 or whatever, he's maximizing, you know, his throwing ability. I mean, that gets into like biomechanics and stuff, but like, I'm hoping that some of these changes they make help them in the long run. I mean, the other thing is I'd just like to see Paddock get right, meaning like, I don't think he's ever going to be like a frontline starter.
Whatever that means, right?
But it's more just to me, if you're incorporating two pitches, get those to like a major league level where you can trust them. And it's not, Paddock is actually an example of the veterans you sign. They're not like to insulate the team when I'm talking about that. They're not like stars. They're going to go through like weird moments like he is, but like they should be able to hold it together. You know what I mean? And that's just not what you expect of a young guy. Young guys get shelled early and it affects their confidence. They have to go back down to AAA, work on the mechanics, feel better about yourself, dominating there, come back up. That's part of progression. If you're at like Paddock's stage, Paddock is more a player who just needs to like hold his own in a rotation spot. That is his value. He's just a major league player, and there's only so many of those in the world, right? And there's some demand for the back of the rotation guy that gives you some insulation against having to call up a prospect too soon or use the waiver wire.
By the way, if you want any further indication or illustration of that, definitely go look up Chase Petty's stats from when he first came up. All right, we have one last question. Our friend Big Mike wants to know, based on what we know now, Twins 45 and 48 with a sweep would get to 500. I pulled the data. The Twins have twice gone into the break under 500 and still made the playoffs. You already brought up 2023, right? I think you said 45 and 40.
Yeah.
In 2003, the Twins were under 500 as well. So while 2023 is more of a modern time in terms of playoff field, 03 was 4 teams make it. You pretty much had to win the Central because whoever lost out between the Yankees and Red Sox was probably going to be the wild card team. The West back then, it was kind of weird. The A's, the Moneyball A's were kind of where they were. The Mariners were coming out of being really good, but had kind of lost all their luster. And the Astros weren't there yet. The Angels were really great in 03, didn't they? I think they won it that year. And then who am I missing? Texas. Texas had A-Rod for a while there. And so either way, you weren't getting out as a wild card team. Twins come back, win that division. You'd probably need, obviously, an insane, absurd, like 52-20 run or whatever to have any chance of doing that. But knowing what we know now, Twins 45-48, whatever that comes out to, 93 games. You got about 70 left. Where were you to start the year, and how has that changed? Because I want to say, I know Dave was like 94 wins, and that's pretty much out the window. I think I was 92-70. I think I'm closer to like 85-77 right now. And you'd have to go like 85-77 is what they were when they won the World Series in 87, which is crazy to me because only 2 teams made the playoffs on each side back then. Anyway, I'm going 85-77. I have them sneaking in as one of the wild card teams.
Yeah. So I just looked, by the way, 02 World Series was the Angels. That was the Angels team that beat the Twins that beat Oakland, right? 03 was Marlins.
Oh, yeah, the Ivan Rodriguez.
It's so funny that the Marlins have beaten the Mets and then beat Cleveland, right? And those are like 2 of the most cursed teams. And the Marlins just burned it down like the next year, I think in both cases.
Twice.
Yeah, and so sports are funny, baseball is funny. But I think it's weird that you got to 85 because my mind kind of went that way, and I was like, that's like right on that border where like, are you a playoff team? Are you not?
And you don't have to blow up like. They don't have to win. They don't have to have another 13-game winning streak to get to that number. It would take a good second half. But if you, let's say, for any reason, sweep the Pirates, sweep the Rockies, suddenly you're right back on that path.
Yeah, I mean, I think it becomes like an unsatisfying number unless you're like a miracle team, right? You know what I mean? Like either you kind of like I think of like the 2015 Twins where you're like, that was the first time they had a winning season from, I think, 11 to 14. And there you see like the semblance of kind of that team that ends up being good in 17-19. But like that was, I mean, I think it ended against like Kansas City or something like that. You know what I mean? Like this kind of just dud of a ending. My mind went to 85. I was trying to think of what I had them start the season. I would guess 90. And like part of me goes, is there a route to like 87? Like kind of just for,
safety,
because that was the number that was from 23. But yeah, I mean, my guess is like kind of 85. And it just, what I think the Twins need to ask themselves is this just a matter of healthy Lewis, Brooksley Brooksley being kind of the player he's projected to be, like maybe a little more health in the rotation and some push, I guess, like some development from these internal stars. Like, are you like, and then like hopefully just a little more depth, right? Are you like tweaks away from getting back to 90, or is this just kind of a corroded core, right? And I think like my gut says like even adjusting for normal injuries and player development being wonky and all that stuff, like I think they're more closer to being like a 90 win team. I just don't know if like how much further you get. Like I'd have to see that from this core, but 85 is just not going to leave anyone satisfied with anything. Having said that, like that does feel like the path they're careening towards, and you just hope like there's just enough to get in, because any playoff experience, let alone the randomness of the playoffs, would tell you like, that would justify not selling though. You know what I mean? It would justify a lot of different things. It also just makes it a little more productive season than just like 85 and you miss. But yeah, I think they'd be right on that like border. And I think it's just, there's just something inherently like unsatisfactory about this team unless they can replicate something like 2023. And I just don't know how likely that is, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Well, that's all we have. Ran a little long, but that's what we do around here. And it's just kind of, like I said, it's how we do it. We're going to feed some ducks here then get out of town. It's been great, Tom. Appreciate you at T-Schreier at Zone Coverage. Make sure to check out his stuff. I'm Brandon Warne, signing off with Tom Schreier in place of replacing Dave Brown for the day. Saying again, thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow night.